Oh, were you really?
Yeah.
I did Bozo Circus. That was a Chicago thing. So thank you all for being here again. We'll get started in just a moment. Des will be running the talk this evening. For anybody who has their mic turned on, please go ahead and turn that off. If you have questions about anything, please put them in the chat, and we will try to answer those for you right away as quickly as we can. And be aware that Des will cover differences between NCAA and NAIA as they come up throughout the talk. So be aware of that as well.
The floor is yours, Des, whenever you are ready.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We're going to talk about mechanics.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, man. One of my faves. As Brian mentioned, so this will primarily be focused on the mechanics that are based out of the NCAA book, but we will be talking about NAIA mechanics as well. They do apply. We will be talking mainly 4-person mechanics, but we'll touch on 3 to make sure that those are in respective conferences that have 3-person mechanics, that you're prepared and are ready to do what you need to do. If at any point, because we do have videos in this presentation, the videos are not showing, please let me know so I can adjust it and make sure that they do. All right, so sharing my screen now. Please let me know if you see it and good to go. Yay, I see thumbs. All right. So just reminders for those jumping on, please mute if possible. Although we do love your beautiful faces, we don't need to see them just right now. Let's wait until the Q&A period. That way you can express yourself fully, but just to keep people focused and help the bandwidth, let's keep those cameras off on your end. You can place questions in the chat, as there are my fellow CFFO representatives there to answer your questions. All right, so let's jump into the mechanics of it all. How do we do what we do on the field? We've gone through the past few weeks learning every single part of the rule book, right? So we've got our rules in place. Even if we don't know them perfectly, we study every day just to make sure we can get more and more and more acclimated. But how are we moving on the field to make sure that we can move and rule on these things appropriately? Well, we're going to go through a few points of emphasis in mechanics. First one being the pregame. How can we know what we're doing and focus on who we're working with and how we're going to work if we don't have a good pregame?
Well, we're good.
All right, for the replay. So we're going to go through these items. Please, again, if you have questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat. And for my fellow CFFO folks, please chime in when we have any NAIA differences. All right, so pregame, right? So you got your assignment in RefQuest, in Arbiter, via text, however your assigner decides to make you aware that they need you on the field to represent them and to represent this great avocation of officiating. Hopefully you've talked to your crew, you've talked to the coaches and reached out to them and let them know, hey, I'm the crew chief. We're going to be on site at this period of time. Who should we talk to upon arrival? Is there parking? Are there changing facilities? All of that information, just so your crew is prepared to arrive as they need to, if there's traffic, not traffic, and that they can settle in to have a good conversation. You want to be on site 60 to 90 minutes beforehand, specifically because at about 30 minutes, you want to be out on the field doing your pregame walkthrough. So those 30 minutes can go fairly quickly when you have all of the other meetings and prep and getting dressed and gosh, using the bathroom if you're a nervous Nelly, right? Just before getting onto the field. So that time is really valuable to you in prepping before you actually have to step onto the field to get your responsibilities in. If you're having a pregame with your crew on site, definitely make sure you're there 90 minutes before so you can have at least a 30 to 45-minute discussion, especially if you haven't worked with each other before. If you had a virtual pregame the night before or a few nights before, kudos to you. That allows for a little bit more flexibility on the workday, and you'll have a few things ironed out and maybe some time to even pull some plays to talk with the crew about unique situations that have come up since you spoke. When the crew participates, it is crew participation. It's not just the R delegating what they want and how they want things to move. It's each person being assigned a particular topic, an area of responsibility that they can talk about, making sure that the crew has trust in them to let them know that I know exactly how to handle this area, and allow the crew to give a few touch points on anything they've seen from their side relative to what you have to talk about. So whether that's a pre-snap routine, whether that's ball rotation, penalty enforcement, whatever it is, everybody should be weighing in upon how this is done. For NCAA, we do have equipment inspection prior to the game beginning. So for NCAA, the schools are required to submit game balls, no more than 5, prior to the game starting, to allow officials to be able to test the PSI and to mark them appropriately for play. NAIA, I suggest that you do the same. It doesn't have to be well before the game, but certainly when the players bring the footballs onto the field, test them, make sure there's no deflate gate, make sure that they're new to fairly new and are playable on both sides, and of course the right size. If you are able, while you're walking along on the field, make sure that you're checking players, shirts tucked in, no pockets, no jewelry, flags are tight, no metal cleats, all of those things that you're going to ask the coach when you go into your coaches meeting with them, which is usually prior to you stepping on the field, asking the coaches if there are any particular plays that they have that you need to be aware of to hold your whistle, if there's anything other team that they're interested in, you knowing, and of course asking if all their players are properly equipped. Ask if there's any unique situations for the coin toss. Ask if there's going to be any unique halftime stuff. Also, let the coach know when if you're coming from actual locker rooms and teams aren't on the field, when you are going to escort the team and captains out for the coin toss. Some schools like to do, the big production where they all run out, same as tackle. So you have to have a time where you actually pull them out into the field to make sure they're ready for the coin toss. During warm-ups, most schools allow for warm-ups to start about an hour before. Officials need to be on the field 30 minutes before to establish a 10-yard buffer zone. What does that buffer zone look like? It looks like this. Teams have 10 yards between them where they're allowed to warm up, to practice their punts, their throws. We try to stay within this space just to make sure that there's no tomfoolery with any players that may have been talking smack on social media, particularly some of these big rivalries that you'll see in the KCAC. They get a little bit heated pregame. We want to make sure that we're in this area to keep those temperatures low. All right, so now the coin toss. Again, check with the game day administrator for any special circumstances. If they've got a band that they want to leave in, a special mascot, if the mayor's coming to do the coin toss, whatever it is, just know what that situation might be and let them know exactly when they want that coin toss to be if they have special programming. Generally, it is 3 minutes prior to the first snap, aka the kickoff. When you do this, you want your captains on the sidelines ready to go. These will be pulled by your both of your wings, your line judge and your side judge. We do have a unique not so unique, but perhaps an uncommon lineup for the coin toss, which I'll show you in just a minute with a graphic that easily lines up the players and allows the referee to stay in position facing the press box. If you are on a field where you are unsure where the camera is, ask somebody, referee, to make sure that we're not seeing your backside when you're giving the announcements, which is supposed to be given to the crowd and, of course, to all those at home watching or streaming. Just like tackle, the visitor calls the toss. You want to make sure to show the coin to both teams so they know what it is, and make sure that you have the calling captain have them call their choice prior to flipping the coin, not while in the air, but prior to flipping the coin. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that Thanksgiving Day game where Jerome Bettis in Pittsburgh called head tails, and the official had a time of it from all the players and from the sidelines and from the fans and from TV saying that he administered it wrong. Make sure you have them call heads or tails prior to flipping, and have your fellow official that's standing there, your back judge with you, repeat what that call is. Then flip the coin. You'll get your options. If the visitors won, you'll ask them whether or not they want offense, defense to defer. You'll signal whatever they choose. You go to the other captain, get their choice, signal which direction the play will start, call them together for a handshake, and then send them on their way. After the coin toss is concluded, all officials write down the results. If you are in a conference where you're fortunate enough to have a clock operator that is connected to you via comms, please ensure that that clock operator also knows what's happening. Clock operator, you're getting paid the same as everybody else. Make sure that you're writing down what's happening as well. You are part of the crew. Make sure that you're there to serve as a backup in case for whatever reason we administer this wrong. So the coin toss mechanics, this is what it looks like walking out, where generally you would have the players along the sidelines lined up and we'd walk them out this way. For the mechanics for flag, just to keep it easy and keep people from rotating, we're actually lining them up in a straight line, one behind the other. The speaking captain is going to be at the front of the line for the side furthest away from the referee. The side closest to the referee, speaking captain is going to be in the back. That way they both meet right where the referee is, and all the referee has to do is turn to the left or right to speak to them. All right. So down box and line to gain marker, right? So our line judge has done their duty right after pregame or during pregame warm-ups. They've gone to the box operator. Again, this is NCAA focus. You're going to have your down box operator, and you're going to have your line to gain operator, which is one half of the chain with the target. Going to talk to them about what you need, where they're supposed to stand, and when they're appropriately supposed to move. Super, super important about making that down box operator know when they're supposed to move, because they are holding our line of scrimmage, our offensive line of scrimmage, where the ball previously was. We'll get to it in just a minute, but the NAIA, some sites still use pucks in the middle of the field, marking where the offensive and defensive line of scrimmage is. Those fortunately stay. They don't have a mind of their own and don't move during the play. Unfortunately, our box operators do. We need to tell the box to stay where you are until I summon you, no matter what. And if I do not summon you, chirp down at me, say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Line Judge, you want me to move? Then say yes, and they'll move with you. Let's give a small example of what we do not want to see on this. So got our down box operator, good punch back by the line judge. This operator starts moving. before the play is almost even finished. Our line judge is doing what she's supposed to. She's getting down there. That box moves prior to that official getting into place and calling. Same thing here. As soon as she moves, the box is moving. Again, we don't want that. Anything can happen in between here. Same on this play. Box is steady, starts to move again while this line judge is trying to get her bearings in space. We don't want that. Make sure that you keep them in space, and then some of them, once you turn in, are already and have backed out, getting ready for the next play. So if you're still using pucks, line of scrimmage markers, the examples of these are bean bags, hockey pucks, the low-level speed cones, super short. All of them can be used as markers on the field. Talk to your supervisor about their particular preference. And all of these should be easily accessible either on Amazon or on officiating stores. Make sure that the materials for these are soft ply and pliable. So if a player steps on them, that they won't roll their ankle or it will sink into the turf without issue. Ensure that while you are going to set these pucks, these line markers, that you are not turning your backside again to the camera. Be aware where the camera is. Make sure you have turned, if you actually do them from the side, and place them sideways with your backside face the opposite direction. Or you can do the lean forward method where you place one yard, place one the other. When you're placing these, make sure that it is truly at least a yard. I know most of us that have been working on flag football and tackle football fields now, we just walk at a yard's pace. It's just how we walk now. You can't even help yourself. Make sure you're actually walking that pace, that 1 yard, and that you don't have the lines of scrimmage too close to where you're not actually giving your line judge a reasonable neutral zone. We need that space to be able to determine whether or not somebody crosses in and gets out in time, because again, this is college football. They can jump in and jump out on the defense, and it still be okay and reset. But make sure that your line judge actually has that space so they're able to determine what that looks like. All right, so here you'll see here that there are the 2 pucks that are on the ground. There's one for the offensive line, one for the defensive line. They do not have to be separate colors. In the past and for NERSA rule sets, they did, but we are dealing with advanced individuals. As long as there are 2 lines, they know that one the closest to them on the offense is for the offense, one closest to the defense is defense. You'll note that it's in the center of the field, and of course they do move hash to hash depending on where the end of the play is. Note here, because we do have the pucks on the floor, again, for any NAIA institutions that utilize this, the down box will actually be at the line to gain. That's the only stick that is used. There is no other target partial chain that's available. NCAA, again, they are required to have 1 box, 1 chain person. You are setting that defensive line of scrimmage. Just a quick run through here because we are going to talk about movement. Just wanted to note that this crew does a good job. This is 4-person mechanics of the line judge holding the line because they do have help from the field judge. At the bottom, that line judge started to move towards the line to gain, and that side judge, sorry, not field judge, side judge is right there at the line to gain, ruling whether or not that player passes. She does. And as soon as she steps there, she goes ahead and gives up that spot to the down judge. All right, let's move into sideline control. If you are a great sideline official, you will totally make your day for your referee. Sideline control is huge at the collegiate level because unlike high school and unlike youth or amateur sport where the coaches are allowed to walk onto the field and address the referee directly, at the collegiate level, wing officials are expected to handle their sidelines on their own. So that means that if a coach actually is able to make it out onto the field to talk to the referee is going to do one or two things for that coach. Well, first, they're going to look at you, side official, and ask, did they call a timeout? If you say no, that referee is either going to give that coach a timeout or is going to give them an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Coaches must stay on their sideline and within their team box unless they've requested a timeout or are sprinting downfield while the snap is imminent to call a timeout. It is a choice that you can offer them. It's either you're going to get a UNS, which contributes to their 1 of 2 to be removed from the game, or they can get a timeout because they shouldn't have made it that far. Wing officials try to keep them out of trouble. If your coach does walk onto the field, get in front of them, walk them back, try to answer any questions that they may have. Again, the team box is 20 to 20. When the ball is dead, that's when players and coaches can move into our white area, the 2 yards on the sideline that we have to be able to work. That is just our own. But once the ball has been made ready for play, the snapper walks up to the ball, puts their hand on the ball. That means the snap is imminent. All players, all coaches must move out of that space to allow you, the official, to work within those 2 yards. And that goes up and down the length of the field. It does not stop. The great thing about the 20s is once you get beyond that, you have a bit more room behind you, but they must allow you to work for them within that space. Remind them as often as you can to get back. If a coach is next to you and is standing in the white and the snap is imminent, you should still keep your focus on the field. You can still talk to them and listen to them without having to turn your head away from the ball. Particularly my line judges. If a coach is next to you, you can tell them, Coach, I'll answer you right after this snap. I'll get back to you during this dead ball period, but do not turn your head to answer them. You will miss that snap, that false start. That happens. And then one side or the other is going to be upset with you. Let the coach know you'll get back to them, but keep your eyes tuned to the field. Last point on this is to talk to them, remind them to stay out of your way, to stay off of the field. Talk to them again, remind them to stay out of your way, to stay off of the field as much as you can. After that, the next warning is a flag. Keep in mind that the first flag that they receive for a sideline warning is a warning. It does not come with any yardage penalty associated with it. The only time where we actually attribute yardage is if you actually contact a player and you would give the appropriate signal and inform your crew if that happens. Otherwise, that flag, that warning, will perk their ears up to what they're doing and give you the respect that you need to operate on the sideline. Now, when you do have that sideline that pushes up against the numbers, that pushes up against that sideline, when you have an interception, you know that they've been in that area all game. Try to keep yourself out of trouble. You have an interception, the ball's on the other side of the field, go ahead and step into the field of play and run the next 10 to 15 yards in the field of play to get out of that box where they're all rushing into because they're excited that they now have an interception. That will keep you and them out of trouble. You don't have to drop a flag on them, and you also don't mistakenly hit somebody, either injuring them or yourself. On change of possessions, if it's going to the opposite side, go ahead and jump into the field of play to keep them out of your way. If it's on your sideline, shuffle down slowly, but do observe in front of you. And if you have to, go ahead and drop your flag. When the coach or players are looking for something, ask questions. If they actually do ask it or answer questions, if they do actually ask a question, If they don't, move on in the play. If you can't answer it, and let's move on in the play. And again, if all else fails, go ahead and talk with your flag. So this one, we're not actually going to run through the play. This is just an example of how crowded a sideline can be, right? So they've got 30 people right up against the sideline. You'll see down at the bottom, there's a line that's established as a sideline just below the 40. This official is basically pushed onto the field because he hasn't given himself that sideline. Go ahead and push these players back. Tell them that you need that space to operate for them. If they do not respect that space, go ahead and give them a flag as a warning. You need this space to operate. You also need the space just so you can step back a couple of feet and give yourself some perspective on this player that's right in front of your face. Because you have this entire line by yourself, backing up and being able to look past this individual and riding in your vision so you can see across the field is going to be extremely helpful. We see more when we back up further. We see more the further we are away. All right. Just a reminder, and Tyler went over this a few weeks ago, the differences in penalties for contacting an official on the sideline are different for NCAA and NAIA. If you contact an official in general, and if you have a sideline interference. Although the NAIA doesn't explicitly say this, for any of my NAIA leadership that is on the call, feel free at this time to comment about how you would like the officials to enforce a sideline interference. Bruce Hawthorne, I'm looking at you specifically.
Come back to me again. I'm sorry. I was in the midst of sending out something.
No worries, Bruce.
Come back.
I'd say Rick or Brian or Marianne, if you have any thoughts, comments on NAIA enforcement for sideline interference.
In regards to what, when you're talking about sideline interference, are you talking about contact?
Yes, there's, Rick Fuller says UNS on contact. Yeah, there's no explicit rule set in the NAIA book that talks about when an official is contacted on the sideline. NCAA, it does. My presumption is that the NAIA enforces it in a similar fashion.
The NAIA actually has a rule that states that the coach cannot even walk onto the field, and if they do, they are actually by rule subject to a penalty. I would never penalize a coach for stepping onto the field personally. If they ran out, as you indicated earlier, to greet the white hat with a complaint, I certainly then would flag them, but not for just walking on the field or when a player comes by and is asking the coach about a play or something and they walk out and whisper into their ear. I can't see penalizing someone for that.
Understood. Thank you, Bruce. Rick Fuller did confirm sideline interference would be a UNS in his conference. All right. All right, so let's jump into signals. This is how we dance on the field, y'all. This is how we tell the story to everybody who's watching what we're doing, to everybody in the stands that think that they know the game, that they know exactly what's happening. We either validate them or we upset them. Either way, in our signaling, it is how the people who are commenting on the game tell the folks at home what's going on and give some color to what's happening on the field. Signals tell the story. We are storytellers on the field. Our signals need to be clear, they need to be prompt, and they must be big and visible. If you signaled and your teammate or your crewmate says that they have not seen it, you have not made it visible enough. You have not made it clear enough. Notice that there's an asterisk over the prompt. There are some signals that are going to be delayed. Sometimes we do have to have conversations just before we signal. Those are okay. Notice it does not say the signal must be immediate. It just says prompt. So once you've taken time to process what has occurred, once you've taken time to talk to your fellow crewmate, if need be, then signal strong, signal wrong even if you need to, but certainly signal strong. It is the best form of nonverbal crew communication. It gives confidence to everyone who's watching the game, to your fellow crew members, and certainly, again, to any broadcast that is on their side, telling their story to the general public. I assume that most of our conferences are utilizing O2Os. If you are not, your signaling game has to be on point, right? Signaling game must be on point because that is the best way that you're going to communicate with your crew that is, 40, 50 yards across the field and possibly, almost 100 yards down the field. Big keys, big signals and cues that we use are signal one. These are all in the general book of signals that are utilized, across all officiating platforms for football. There's about 50 plus of them or so, but the first few are the ones that we use the most often, right? The very first one that you'll see in any mechanics manual is a ready for play signal. Most people know this from when we're coming in either from a quarter, from a break, after a score. We are setting the ready for play. Make sure that that chop is highly visible and firm for your clock operators up in the booth. Our dead ball signal. Previously in high school, this was not used unless you're in the Texas area. The dead ball signal was not a high school mechanic. Now with the introduction in tackle of the 40 and 25 play clock, it is utilized. In flag football with our 30-second play clock, it is also to be utilized as soon as the ball is dead. We are to square in and raise one hand above our head, signaling that the play is over. Signals 2 and 3, that's our inbounds and out of bounds signals. Although our clock runs when there's an incomplete pass outside of 2 minutes in the second and fourth quarters, we're still utilizing these signals with previous conversation with the electronic clock operator that they're not to stop on these unless we're emphatic about it. If you continue to do these signals, that is okay. It is great practice for under 2 minutes when you must utilize them. If for some reason the clock stops, please referee and please officials on the field that are controlling the clock, make sure that you restart it. It is okay if you do so, but inside of 2 minutes, absolutely necessary. Outside, not necessary to do, except for when we stop on penalties and scores. Your deferred decline signal, great for cross-field communication when there are options on penalty enforcements. That's easy for anybody to pick up that know they do not want it, and easy for the referee to turn around and announce. The T signal, this is unique, and I'm not talking about T signals on like punts. I'm talking about T signals for substitutions. This is unique to NCAA. NCAA utilizes the same mechanics as tackle football. When there is an offensive sub, the referee goes into the T signal to show the defense that they're allowed to substitute, and they proceed over the ball or at least up to the snapper to make sure that nobody can snap the ball until that defense has had ample time to substitute. It's usually a count of 3. Then the referee backs back out and allows the offense to proceed in their snap. Again, only specifically for NCAA. Some of the tools we have in our tool bag, signaling communication. We've got our funny whistle. Everyone's heard it. Tweet, 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 tweet. Usually that's when you have a penalty or you need to stop the clock for some reason. You're telling everybody, look at me, I've got something going on. It's not the solid, long blast of a whistle. It's funny. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Usually at least 3 that lets everybody know you've got something. Our flag, of course, that's our most familiar toolkit, right? You gotta have a flag when you go out there because you know you're gonna cause some penalties. Our bean bag, it can be utilized to mark in a spot where the play is ended when you need to go out of bounds and address some sort of business, an injured player. You need to move quickly to break up players. It's also used at the end of punts to mark the post scrimmage kick spot. Back judges, this is you. Usually you carry at least 1 bean bag, but often 2, just to make sure that you can mark this spot in case we need it for penalty enforcement. Our hats. We toss off our hat whenever a player has gone out of bounds, legally or illegally. An eligible receiver has gone out of bounds, legally or illegally, on a passing play, or if a kicking team player goes out of bounds on a punt play. We should see your hat off if someone steps out of bounds, knowing that they cannot be the first person to touch the ball when they come back in. If they do, it should be preceded, it should be followed by a flag. All right, so let's talk about a little bit of movement. There's a lot of things that we can talk about as far as our mechanics movement. We did show just a few moments ago a little bit of movements where we covered the line to gain based on a run with the line judge and side judge working together. I'm only going to touch on a few here just because we're limited on time. We've got about 10 minutes left, and then we're going to field questions. So, things we have to remember on movement. All of the lines must be covered, right? Our important lines on the field are our line of scrimmage, our line to gain, our goal line, and our end line. At some point, officials must communicate with each other to see who's going to cover what. In general, for my back judges, you've got at least line to gain, goal line, and end line. Like that's you the entire game. Usually just goal line. But in line, if we push in past the 20-yard line, absolutely you're going to have in line. But you got to talk to your partner, your deep wing partner, to make sure that you have that covered. Short wing. There'll be a time where you're only a few yards away from the line to gain, and you need to talk to your side judge to see whether or not you both are going to hold it or it's just going to be you. Maybe you're 7 or 8 yards away. You want to reconfirm with your side judge that they're going to stay there and cover that line to gain and then continue to proceed upfield once the ball is crossed. If you're in 3-person mechanics, this may be a little bit more difficult for you because that deep official has the line to gain, goal line, and in line. So there may be a period of time where that line to gain is void, and you've got to hustle line judge to get there to make sure it's covered, because in 3-person, that deep official has had to drift back to make sure the goal line is safe. Movement at the snap. If you are 5 yards or less away from the line to gain or goal line, because that is a line to gain, you will proceed at the snap towards that line and then officiate backwards. We can always officiate backwards, but it's really hard to officiate forward. If we have an individual running straight up the middle of the field for the line to gain, if you're not already there and settled, you're guessing as to where the ball was in relation to the flagpole. If they're short, you can always move back to that short spot. It is very, very hard to try to get in front of it and make players and coaches and fans believe that you know exactly where that ball was and where the flag was pulled if you're chasing it. Big points, please do not signal when you are not on that line of importance. Get there first and then signal it. So don't signal touchdowns from 15 yards away if you're not on the goal line. Even if you happen to get beat, which don't get beat, you owe the crew, an item of their choosing. If you do get beat, try not to get beat to those lines. But don't signal until you get there if you do. Ultimately, you want to consider when you're thinking about what line should I cover, if you haven't communicated, think about what is best going to help the crew. Side judge, is it going to be better for you to move back and help your short wing official? Or do you notice that they've been chucking the ball downfield all game and you need to get back to help your back judge make sure everything's covered? Help the crew in your movement and your positioning. That is what we're down there for. All right, let's take a look at some movement here. All right, so situation where at the goal line, we're about at the 3-yard line. Note that just at initial look, both at my line judge and at my side judge, line judge, I'm going to tell you to get that box person way back behind you. We're now outside of the team box. Push them back. Push them away. There's so much green space behind them. They should be at least 10 feet behind you in case anything comes your way that you can jump out of the way backwards, move to the side, push them way back. Same thing with that line to gain operator. Push them back as well. Push them back at least 5 yards, but further than that if you can. To my side judge, there is no reason for us to stand over the pylon. First of all, get that G out of there, because if a play does come your way and several players try to tip that pylon, if you're still standing there, you're going to be hit and tackled. Or if you try to step back, you're now going to fall over that G or slip on it or do something. Get that G out of your way. Move it way far back. The G is only for the TV. It is not for you. You know it's the goal line. There's a giant pylon there. Step back. Give yourself room. When it's a touchdown, all you have to do is throw your hands up. You don't even have to move. Great positioning on the back judge. They are shaded over towards the strength of the formation, looking in, and they're opposite of the referee. Looking good so far. All right, so, oh my goodness. Let's see what happened there. So my line judge at the snap does a great job and moves towards the goal line. Note that there's a player that went straight towards the middle. We've got to run, and they're sticking the ball out. What do we have? Okay, we have a little bit of delay. We do have the officials look across the field to each other. They nod and signal a touchdown. Not bad, but man, would really, really love for these officials to crash in and sell this call. Because there is a flag attempt being made. And if those flags come off, we want to sell to the crowd that the ball crossed prior to the flags being pulled. In addition to that, we also want to make sure that the play is considered dead before we charge this offensive player with any potential kind of charging or illegal contact as she continues to go through the play. Charge in, just as you would in tackle. If a play is to the middle of the goal line, go ahead and sell this play. Sell it. All right. Next one. So we've got a pass It goes deep. She's running. But for some reason, our back judge is not running. They throttle down around the field's 25-yard line and then signals, not at the goal line, but at the 5-yard line, 5 yards before the goal line. Do not do this. You already got beat. We're trying not to get beat. If you do, however, make sure you go ahead and get to the goal line and then tell the rest of the story. You'll need to get to the goal line should any of these defensive players get close to her flag and pull it. Again, we want to be in position to be able to rule and sell the call that that ball crossed that goal line before the flag was pulled. Do not signal before you get to the appropriate line. If you get beat, wait, then signal upon getting there. All right. Last couple things. Dead ball officiating. This is where we make that money. This is where we make sure that we keep the game safe and in flow. Again, there are some conferences that have been playing for a while and they're already establishing heated rivalry. Things happen during dead ball periods are not always the best things. We want to make sure that once a play is over, players have fallen to the ground, there may be a pile of them, that everybody is separating and getting back to their respective sides to start the next play. View everyone until they return to their teammates. Operate in layers. We've got our short wing, making sure that they have one area of the field right at their feet where the play ended. We've got our offside official taking a full view of what happened, just accordion in a little bit for any receivers that may be on their side, still talking. Back judge is accordion in, make sure that they've got angles. Again, that same area where the ball ended, referee is jogging up, seeing if there needs help with a spot, but also kind of taking their time, again, just to observe that all players have moved out of the way. Do give players a moment if they need. If you see that they're injured, allow the clock to run. But if the player seems like they're staying down, go ahead and stop the clock, noting the status so that you can come back to it. Noting that you can come back to it, of whatever that status is. Go ahead and make sure that you have the injury correct. I do want to note that there is a special exception for NCAA that when a player goes down as injured, after the ball is placed, there are special actions that we have to take as officials. I suggest that you revisit that in the rule books. But for dead ball officiating, if you notice that a player is injured, go ahead and advise them to just go ahead and take that break to stay down, because if they go down, again, NCAA, after the ball was placed, there are negative ramifications for them. Continue to remain alert. Make sure you finish the play and follow any action afterwards. There's often, after there's a play, a touchdown or just a catch or the end of a run, there may be a little shove. There may be a little bit extra that happens for no reason. Make sure that you address that immediately with the players so it doesn't continue to build. Accordion in to cover the play. Let the players know you're there. Have a presence. Use your voice. And don't look for the ball as your first response. The ball is least important. Separating those players, making sure that everyone is okay is our primary objective after we get that spot. Don't worry about the ball. The ball will come back in from somewhere, particularly if you've had a great conversation with your ball personnel, or if you don't have ball personnel, with that individual who's supposed to be rotating in for you. We can always reset the play clock if we don't get the ball down. But it'd be very hard for us to justify why we didn't assist in breaking up any kind of jawing in players or any kind of fight that could possibly happen because we were worried about football. Just a reminder from Tyler's a few weeks ago, dead ball contact fouls include pushing, shoving, striking, confrontational contact. So we got to be in there to de-escalate the situation. All right, so penalty enforcement on teamwork. A few weeks ago, there was a release for 4-person mechanics on penalty enforcement and what that looks like for the CFFO. When you have a penalty, your first responsibility is that funny whistle, right? Let everybody know what's going on once the play is dead. Scan the field to make sure that you're the only one that has a flag. If you are not the only one, will not give a preliminary signal. If you are the only one, please make sure you give a preliminary signal. That allows the referee to start thinking about how they're going to do enforcement, and it allows any kind of commentator coverage to start talking about what that is. If they have multiple cameras, they get the camera off you and focus back on clips of everybody else around the field. Once you give your preliminary signal, go ahead and open your O2O. That way you know, that way anybody up in the booth who's serving as part of the crew also knows. Your crewmates will know, and them knowing, that allows them to provide any kind of options that's needed to the coach. If you have a spot foul, make sure you adjust your flag to that spot. If there are multiple flags and you have the same spot, both of you all adjust your flags to that same spot. That way everybody has a visual of what you're about to offer to that referee. Verify that what you're going to march off and where you're going to march it off from is correct and where you're supposed to be going. We are hustling, but we're not hurrying. We can't just simply start moving, and then once we do, oh man, did we leave from the 16 or the 17? Go ahead and know that. Say it. Somebody note it before we start moving. Or 4-person mechanics. The back judge is coming down and acting as the umpire, and is going to be working with the line judge to walk off the penalties. The side judge is double checking that penalty, so they can come down to the spot of where you're actually enforcing it and stay there until the back judge and line judge are done walking it off. Walk it off yourself, side judge, give them the thumbs up. Once you're done with that, the referee should be finished in their announcement. Simply just have to turn around, look at everybody, make sure they're back in position, look for the clock status being given by one of the 2 deep wings, by the back judge or the side judge, and roll back into play. If you're in 3-person mechanics, the side judge and line judge, you all will walk off penalty enforcement while the referee announces. Same concept though, double check each other. The referee should be able to turn back around, see you both into position. You should be telling them what the clock status is, and then we move on. Again, on preliminary signals, only use them if you are the only calling official. Referees, if you're in a highly televised game or a game with media, make sure that you give preliminary signals back and forth to each sideline. Again, that lets people in the media booth know what's happening, and you have less to have to report. You'll still give your announcement, but again, they've started talking about something else versus focusing on following you on the field. For our flag mechanics, live ball versus dead ball flags, it should be thrown high into the air for everyone to see. These are fouls before the snap. So on a false start, you're shutting the play down, throwing the flag high in the air, giving your funny whistle, and doing your timeout signal. Same thing for dead ball, unsportsmanlike type fouls. Again, high in the air. Everyone can see it. They know something unique is going on. Live ball fouls, we want the flag thrown in an area of the foul, not at players. I don't know if some have seen that NFL example where the referee threw, I said the official threw a flag inside of the player's helmet, and that player ended up having an eye injury. You know, when these when these flags are thrown, they become projectiles, and they are normally filled with heavy sands or pellets that can injure people. These players do not have shielded helmets that could possibly help them avoid even further injury. They generally just have headbands, and that's it. Do not throw them at players. Throw them into an area if it is a live ball foul. If you need to adjust it, if it is a spot, adjust it after the play is concluded, making sure that you have a federal official that is covering the spot at the end of the run. All right. For half the distance enforcement, this is for referees. You do not have to announce that it is half the distance. I'm sorry, you do not have to show half the distance in your announcement. You do not have to signal it, but please do note half the distance if you are saying that something is a 10-yard penalty and we're not actually walking off 10 yards, or it's a 5-yard penalty and we're only walking to the 2.5. Make sure that you're staying in your announcement, but you do not have to signal it. That is the end of this presentation for mechanics. Again, there are many things that we could cover. Here are just a few items. I hope that you gained some insight. I hope that allows you to ask some questions and prompt discussion with crews. And we're opening the floor now to answer any questions that we did not answer in the chat. Let's see, Omar, do we announce the number of the player that the penalty is on? Oh gosh, yes. There are some referees that I've met that won't actually announce anything. They're like, if you don't have a number, you don't have a foul. Some of us have probably ran into that referee before. Yes, please announce the player number. If so, that will go in for a few reasons. One, coaches want to know. Your sideline official, if it's the other side, wants to know so that they can tell that coach that's asking. Also, for anyone who's actually charting stats on site for those games, they're going to want to know who that penalty was on as well. So if you have the number, absolutely go ahead and include it in your announcement. Definitely for unsportsmanlike penalties, we must have the number and preferably the last name of that player because we need to note that, all of us, in case we have a second one and need to remove them from the game.
Des, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Not necessarily for myself, but for the group. As a person who spends a lot of time on football fields with flag football officials, instructing them on mechanics, helping them find positioning, what are the one or two things that you find you are consistently or constantly having to repeat yourself about, or that a couple of points that you really, really want to drive home to this group so that we can step onto the field and get it right the first time?
Understood. So with newer officials, right, there's always that transition from being a player or being a fan and wanting to watch the ball, right? As you get deeper and deeper into officiating, you do realize that, hey, I have responsibilities in particular areas, and my crewmates are counting on me to adhere to those responsibilities to make sure they can do their job, right? So the first thing I would say that I see most often is us not being disciplined in our areas of coverage, right? We'll have a deep wing staring in the offensive backfield when it's a one-on-one matchup with the quarterback and with the rusher. You don't need to watch that. The referee's got that. That's their baby in the backfield, right? Your job is to watch all of those receivers that are coming downfield at you to make sure that nobody's pulling, jamming, intentionally tripping, holding, any of that stuff. You'll get to watch the play. Don't worry, it's being recorded. You also have a pretty good view. If it's a run, you get to watch the entire play when it goes to the other side. You'll get your chance to watch. It's just not the ball in this case. So being disciplined in our areas is a really, really big item, especially since it's flag football, folks. There's only 4 of this. It's 4 of us, sometimes 3, right? Sometimes you don't have replay in the box. We definitely don't yet, right? We can't afford to watch in the backfield. We don't have 6, 7, 8, a 9th in the box and 100, playbacks to help us. We don't. We have to stay disciplined in our areas. The second thing that I would say most often, I see that, and we talked about it in this presentation, we're not covering our important lines. Our line to gain is open. Our goal line is open. Sometimes our line of scrimmage isn't covered. Somebody's got to get that. We're working with at least 3 in all conferences on this call. If we get line of scrimmage, line of gain, and goal line, we'll be pretty good. Make sure we get all of those important lines every single time. We got to have it.
I'd like to reiterate that as whatever your crew is, make sure you're communicating with each other. You should know you can use this signal. I have line to gain. If you're a line judge and talking to your field judge, it has to be covered. So make sure don't guess. Make sure you know who's covering that line to gain on each play. With 3 and 4 man mechanics, it's different. With crews, it could be slightly different, but make sure you're all communicating with each other.
Agreed. Hey, Emily. Hey, Kim. Hey, Marcus. I see all the people on the call. All right. Good stuff. I love it. These Robins here, all these excellent officials that already know the stuff, but they're here getting better anyway. That's what this is about. I love it. All right, folks. If there's no further questions, I do see that there's a few that are in the chat area. We will answer those online for you. We'll give you a shout via email, but it has been an hour. We're at a close. Thank you so much on behalf of CFFO for joining us for this educational series. Enjoy the last few weeks of the season. Best of luck on your nominations for your conference championships, and we'll hope to see you on the field real soon.
Okay. Hey, Des and